Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This video, however, is not going to be a regular video. This video is going to be me talking about something that is happening in the tech world right now. And I know I normally don't cover stuff like this, but if this goes through, I feel like it will have a very, very profound effect on the rest of the tech industry as a whole. So that's why I'm covering this. So, today, what we are covering will be as you can tell by the title, the legislation that New York is passing, the bill that would require background checks to buy a 3D printer. Attempts to target ghost guns, and we're on Tom's Hardware. I'll put a link to this article down in the description. Basically, what this says is that New York, I think New York, the state of New York, is trying to pass a bill right now that is requiring a background check in order to purchase a 3D printer. Why I don't think this is a good thing is that, they cite it, as you can see in the article, they cite it as ghost guns. However, I don't feel like that does justice to the actual issue. They're citing it as we want to make it harder for criminals to get guns, which, yes, I agree with that. Make it harder for them to get guns. Like, guns in the hands of bad people are what cause things like school shootings and yes. However, if we take a look at New York, let me pull up. And this is not scripted, as you can tell. The only thing I knew about this article, and that was it. Look, I live in Texas. For just some background, so obviously I'm probably a little biased, but I mean, even this is New York. But let's say you live in New York City, right down here. You're in New York City, right? New York City's Long Island, yep. Let's say you live New York City area, Yonkers, and all of this down here, Long Island, basically. You are not that far from Philadelphia. From New York City. Okay, scroll. I don't care. To New York, from New York City to from New York City to Philadelphia, because I mean, obviously Trenton probably has something like a store where you can buy it, but I'm just saying Philadelphia, big city, close to New York City. 2 hours, roughly 2 hours. Can be done faster or slower. Like, basically, it's not that hard to get from New York City, Long Island, in their area, to Philadelphia. It's not that hard to get from Buffalo to Hamilton. It's not that hard to get from Watertown to Ottawa. Like nothing. There isn't anywhere in New York that it's hard to get to a city that would sell a 3D printer. Rochester to Hamilton, Toronto, like, that's not that far. I mean, I know you'd have to go that to get there, but that's not that far. Buffalo, oh, I didn't mean to do that, but Buffalo to Toronto is not far. Like, I mean, it just doesn't make sense to do that. And I mean, I say New York's small, but I mean I live in Texas, so like Texas is big. So like if Texas was to pass it and you lived somewhere like, I don't know, if you lived in Brady and you needed to get to like the closest place that probably, I don't know, like Brownwood might have something, like, but chances are it probably doesn't. So you'd have to go from Brady to San Antonio or to Austin or to DFW or Abilene, or like, there isn't places that sell 3D printers everywhere in Texas. And same thing with New York. You're only going to be affecting your major cities: Rochester, Buffalo, Albany, NYC, Long Island. Like, you're just hurting your own economy at that point. Which, and even then, 3D printing guns is difficult. Like, if you say 3D print an entire gun, chamber and all, it's gonna be a one shot. Like, you pull the trigger once, you shoot it off, it's done. You can't use it again. Unless you bring in outside components like nails, and it's not hard. Even then, you don't have to 3D print it. You can make a gun out of a PVC pipe and some nails. Like, and obviously you need more than just that, but it's not hard. If criminals want guns, making it harder for regular people to get a 3D printer is not the way. Back on Tom's Hardware, it says it can take up to 15 days to review a purchaser's criminal history and decide if they can buy the 3D printer. If you're leaving in the choice of the company, unless nothing major sticks out, they're selling you the gun. They're selling you the 3D printer. And if something major does pop up, these criminals are just going to get one of their goons to go and do it for them. Like, it's the same way criminals get guns to begin with. Even the ones that have a record, they get someone else to go buy it for them and then just register it in that person's name, and then they take it and use it. It's not like, it doesn't make sense. And I think that something like this could have a really, really negative effect on the tech world. We have spent so many years making 3D printers and trying to get them as effective as they are today, and they're still not perfect. Like, they still fail, they still jam, they still do all this stuff. Like, no 3D printer is perfect. So why would a criminal take the time to get the 3D printer, print the gun, only for it to fire one, maybe two times before something melts or breaks because the heat it's so hot and it's plastic? And even at that, it's a plastic that doesn't last long. Like, it confuses me on why this has even been brought up. Like, I don't understand it. I don't think it'll help. And it might help, but even then, it's not gonna get to the point where it's perfect. I don't think 3D printers will ever be able to fully 3D print full working guns. I mean, or make it be cheap enough for it to be a viable option at that. 3D printer prices have come down a lot in the last few years, but that makes them better, yes. While they're better, while one that costs $200 now is light years better than one that cost $200 6 years ago, it's still not gonna be able to make something that produces the amount of heat that a gun does when it's fired. I mean, let's take the simple concept of a bullet. It's striking the back of the bullet, causing an explosion from the gunpowder in the shell, shooting the bullet part out of the shell, leaving the explosion to just go where? Into the chamber? It's exactly where it goes. And if you're 3D printing a gun, your chamber is going to melt from how hot it is. It's not a viable way to make a gun. But there are ways around it, obviously, which is why they're doing this. But I think ultimately this is just making it harder for people that want that just want a 3D printer. Like if I lived in New York and I want a 3D printer, if this bill passes, I have to wait up to 15 days to even decide whether I can buy one or not. Let's say that's the only thing I go into the store for, and I didn't know this bill passed, and I go into the store and, you know, the day after this bill passes, I go into the store, excited to buy a 3D printer. I finally saved up enough money to buy this printer, and the dude goes, let me get some of your information. We need to run a background check on you. This could take up to 15 days. I know you've probably waited like a couple months to decide, thinking about is this the right purchase or not, but you still need to wait. We need to decide whether you're a hardened criminal or not. Huh? Dude. And if this bill passes, which, based on Tom's Hardware, I definitely could see it passing. Like, I think this could it could spread to other states. Just like the legalization of marijuana in Colorado from however many years ago, and how it slowly spread into more states since Colorado did it. I think at some point this is going to be something that more than just New York citizens have to deal with. And that's if/when it passes. And I say if/when because if it passes, I don't feel like it's the real question we should be asking. I feel like we should be saying when this passes, because the way 3D printing is going, especially 3D printing with metals is going, I think at some point people will be able to buy commercial 3D printers that 3D print with metal. And I think at that point we have to take a step back and think, maybe we should make sure we can run a background check on people so they don't make knives, guns, ammunition. Obviously, you need more than just the parts for the ammunition. You need the gunpowder and everything. But, relative sense, you could just make all the shells and stuff and then just buy the gunpowder second. So, I think it's more of a when and not an if on when this bill will pass. I'm hoping that when factor will be many, many years down the line. I hope it's not within the next few months, because if it's within the next few months, then it'll spread and spread before commercial 3D printing with metals can truly take off. I mean, I know right now, there aren't very many companies that use it. I know one that uses 3D printing with metal is Bugatti for their brake spring, or their suspension springs. Brake springs, what the hell's wrong with me? For their suspension springs. But when you're paying that much money for a car, you can afford to use a new technology, and I don't know. I just think I'm hoping this bill doesn't pass within the next few years. I wouldn't go make a gun with a 3D printer, mainly because I know it's not a viable option. Although this does say here, the Firearm Enthusiast publication Gun Digest gives very popular Credelity Ender 3 V2 its highest recommendation for firearm printing. Also recommends the Prusa i3 MK3 S Plus. Both of these are bed slinger styles, so you could print guns with them. But like it says at the bottom here, you could print guns with any 3D printer. And I know that's a threat, but I'm hoping, like I said, I'm hoping this bill doesn't pass within the next few years. I'm hoping it's many, many years down the line when 3D printing with metal becomes a viable option for 3D printing, and it becomes commercial grade, and people that aren't working in Bugatti or Ferrari or Lamborghini or these high industry places are the only ones able to use it. I hope it, slowly comes down to the point when someone on the street, a Bill on the street that's interested in hardware and mechanics and, wants to make a car part, needs to make a car part for himself, can do it. Like, I'm hoping eventually it'll get to that point. But I think at that point is when we need to start running background checks on people for printers, because right now 3D printing guns is just not viable, and that's a simple truth. It's not practical. It's just not a feasible option. It's gonna break, it's gonna melt, and what, you're gonna make another one? Go ahead, spend 10 plus hours printing this little bitty thing that's gonna break after one use. And I know sometimes all you need is one shot, but even then, I don't think it fire. I've never tried this, so I don't know, velocity when it exits the barrel and all this. It could be very effective, but I wouldn't think it would be, which, just me. So yeah, I don't like this. I don't know. I think this is personally a negative connotation on the tech industry, and I know for a fact that this bill is being pushed by someone who doesn't own a 3D printer. Most of these congressmen and everything just aren't in touch with modern technology as much as they like to think they are. And so they try to do stupid stuff like this that ultimately gives tech a bad connotation. Which, whatever. Do that. Go ahead. But that's going to be it for this video. This video is more of a rant than anything. But I feel like something like this needs to be said more. And so more voices will hear this. Because I don't feel like this is being talked about as much as it should. So yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe. And I know for a fact I'll see you guys tomorrow because I pushed the video back to upload this. Take it easy. Peace out, everybody.